Welcome to Lead with Kindness, your essential podcast for disrupting the workplace with kindness and well-being. I'm Helen Rimmer, and I'm armed with 20 years of leadership experience and a passion for positive psychology. I'm here to offer practical tips and share inspiring stories to revolutionise leadership. Ready to challenge the norm? Let's dive in and transform our workplaces together. It's time to make a difference. Let's get started. Hello and welcome. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Lorene Kennard, an extraordinary leader in libraries and the host of the Librarian Linkover. Lorene's extensive experience spans public, academic and corporate libraries, and she's here to share her insights on leading with empathy and strategic vision. Lorene, thank you for joining us today. I'm excited to hear about your journey and how you've used kindness as a cornerstone in your leadership roles. So, hello.
Hello, Helen. Thank you for having me.
That's okay. So let's get going. And you've had a really dynamic career spanning lots of different types of libraries and even running your own research business. So what motivated you to transition between all these diverse roles?
Well, I did not have a grand plan. I would like to say I did, but I did not. I went to library school to work in public libraries. And when I was in library school for a project, I talked to a recent grad who was working in a corporate library. She was the feature animation librarian at Walt Disney World in Florida, here in the States. So it was a really interesting project. We kind of just connected. We kept up with each other. And a few months later, she forwarded me information about an internship in the advertising and marketing library there. So that's how I found out about corporate and special libraries. So I had that internship. And then when I was job hunting during the internship, I was applying for all kinds of jobs, including public, because that was still, what I thought I was going to do. So I had offers from a public library and a corporate library. So I took the job in corporate because it paid more, for being honest.
Yeah.
It paid more. And it was in Chicago. I'm going to the city, right? So I was there for a long time. And then when I decided I was ready to do something different, I couldn't really find anything that was a good match. I'd been a solo in a corporate library, and I'm like, I can't do research all day. I know, like, from doing like everything, I can't just sit and do research all day. So I'm like, let me put my own shingle out and see what I can do as far as being a freelance researcher. So while I was doing that, I got a part-time job in a public library to have regular income. And then the 2008 economic crisis happened here in the States. So I didn't have too much business after that. But I liked public libraries. So let me see if I can stick here and let me be a director. I can do it better than this person I was working for. So I had 3 public library director jobs. They were all very difficult to get, but I did have 3. I left my last public library director job because it was not a good fit with me and the board. I was doing some more freelance research and some consulting while I was figuring out what I wanted to do next. I reached out to a friend about some databases in her library to see if they were available to the public, since I was working on a project and I wanted to check something. And she had an opening in her academic library. So I applied for it, and I figured, I've never done archives or tech services manager before. Why not? I've managed those people, but I've never done it before. So I did not have a grand plan. Most of the changes between library types were not super intentional, and most of them were really hard to get, like I said. But like we talk about on my podcast, our skills are our skills, and we can use them anywhere. I get asked a lot to talk about my career path. I think people think I have this super intentional career, but it was more like I need a job, and where can I find one?
Brilliant. I love the idea, though, of finding your way through and all these sort of serendipitous. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Serendipity is a great word.
Yeah, definitely. So in your current role at Rockford Public Library, you manage a really diverse team in a unionised environment. How has your leadership style evolved, especially in fostering inclusivity and kindness?
My current staff is quite diverse, which I love. Public libraries, at least in the States, are like 80-something%, I won't say old, like white women. Some of us are getting there every day. So it's really great to have a completely diverse staff.
Yeah.
So I work really hard to find them resources and networking opportunities to make sure they feel supported, can find a network. And I mean, I support them as much as I can, but they do need to talk to other people than just me in the field. And make sure they have interesting projects that engage them, because we need to keep diverse librarians in the field. I've had some pretty awful managers in my career, so I try not to be that. I treat people how I want to be treated, and I do believe most everybody is trying. Some people just don't have the skill or they're not interested in the job, but I still manage people how I would manage anyone. Even when you have difficult staff, I'm not going to not support them. I'm still going to give them opportunities. I still manage them how I would manage anyone. But my management style, I think, has evolved into more of a meet them where they are style. So when I started managing people, I had more of an expectation of like, everyone's like me, here's the assignment, let's get it done. They could ask me if they needed something, but I didn't tell them they could ask me. I just assumed they knew. So over the years, I've realized over communicating is better. No one has told me I give them too much information. Some people need a little more instruction here and there than others, and that's okay. So the challenge for new managers is figuring all of that out for your people because
Mm,
everybody's different.
yeah, yeah. I think that's really important, isn't it? It's the human in front of you, not
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
role.
Everybody's trying. Everyone's
Yeah,
trying. And everyone brings all of their experiences
yeah,
to everything,
yeah, yeah.
myself included. I also have to remember when I move to a new job, they aren't these awful people I had before. These are new people.
That is
It's
so
hard.
important, isn't it? Yeah, because bringing that baggage of I,
Mm-hmm.
I've worked with someone who did this role before and they were
Mm-hmm.
awful. It's so easy to
Mm-hmm.
get to. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. So actually that takes us nicely on to transitioning to new teams, which can be challenging. And could you share an experience where you had to integrate into an existing team? Because I know this is something we've communicated about and I've written about,
Mm-hmm.
and how you navigated that situation.
Um, well, I started my current job in October.
Mm.
I have a staff and I'm part of a management team. So I'm middle management, literal middle. I found out what middle management really means. You're in the middle
Yeah.
between staff and administration.
Mm.
So what I did, again, over communicate. I met with everyone. I
Yeah.
had one-on-ones with my staff to see what do they like about their jobs, what do they want to learn, and what can we do better.
Mm.
And then I met with each manager in other departments and everyone in administration to see how they work with my team. I wanted to know, what do you do for my team? What do you need from my team when you interact? Because like marketing or development, whatever, like we're asking for a sign for something, what do you need from us? And what is the expectation that we'll get back from you? So that I have all that information and staff can come to me and say, what about this? I'll be like, oh, check with them.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know they do that. They do, because I just found that out. Or
Mm.
like another manager will come to me and say, this and that's going on. I'm like, well, but they're doing this. Oh, I didn't know. So it's literal like middle, which I guess duh, but like it's really in the middle when you're in middle
Yeah.
management.
Yeah.
So everybody got to know me a little better by doing this, and how I work, and I think it has made communication better. No
Mm.
one seems afraid to ask me something or tell me they have a problem with something. So I like to build trust with everyone, so everyone feels comfortable coming to me with their issues.
Yeah. That's trust bit is so important, isn't it? Especially going into an existing team. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They
Mm-hmm.
already have their own connections and you've got to find your way in.
Well, when I was one of my public libraries, well, I'm not a hands-on. I'm like whatever you need, I will, like I said, rise to the level or not of what you need to do your job well, whatever you need to do to get your work done. But like I would walk around like when I was a public library director, I would like walk around if I'd have to be on the floor for something and like no one paid any attention to me. I loved it. They weren't like, oh my gosh, exiting out of their browsers, getting back to their desk. I mean, who
Yeah.
among us has not bought shoes while we're at work?
Yeah.
No judgment.
Exactly.
They knew like I did not rule by fear. They were
Uh,
comfortable. They knew that I know they're doing their work.
yeah.
And there's not always something to do when you're on the desk.
Yeah.
Your job is to help people if there's no one there. Anyway, to a point,
Yeah.
but I loved it because one like a friend or another library director would come by, we'd walk around and they're just kind of like, are we invisible? I'm like, yes, it's fine.
Yeah.
They're not worried
Really.
that they're going to get in trouble for something because when you're in an environment where you're like worried about your boss, you really cannot do your job well and it affects you personally. So I really do my best to make sure everyone's comfortable and they know that, we're all humans. We're not robots. I always say we should be doing our work most of the time we're here.
Yes.
Most of the time.
Exactly. Yeah. And we all have
So I like to,
as well. We all have days where we're not
yes,
going to get as much done. Yeah.
yes. Speaking of that, I had one time I went into the workroom for something and to talk to someone and they went, I just can't with you today. And I cracked up laughing. Probably harder than I should because it's like, oh my gosh, she's that comfortable saying that to me.
Yeah.
Basically, like, go away.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's fair, you know. But she basically was like in the middle of something. I
Mm.
was like, I didn't say, you know, do you have a minute? I was just like, I just started in with like a question, but it was funny. She did say it in a funny way, and I've told that story before, and other managers they don't really feel comfortable with that. And I said, well, because that's like you're really the authority, and you know, and I said they give me the hard stuff. They know I'm the authority, but I just feel like it wasn't, you know, if they do that all the time, I mean, that's a different problem. But just that she was comfortable like being, I just can't with you today.
Yeah,
You
that's
know, she's just like, I just need a break. And I wish I have said that many times to managers. So anyway, I thought it was very funny. Everyone else thought it was very funny because I felt like I had built that relationship with my staff
yeah.
where I could say, "Do you have a minute?" And they could say no. You know,
Yes.
can you come back in a few minutes or I'll come in your office? Where they didn't feel like because I'm asking, they have to just hop to it. So I like building that kind of a relationship with my staff where they
Oh,
trust me. I mean, there's not 100%, you know, it's still the manager and whatever, but they
yeah.
feel comfortable that they're not getting in trouble all the time.
No. Oh, yeah. That's just music to my ears. That is definitely kind and brave leadership. So, I know from my own experience that moving to a new building is a significant change, and the staff are a big part of that. How are you preparing your team for this transition, and what are your key focuses in the new space?
Well, as you know, getting ready to move to a new building is very painful.
Yes.
We have to take all our personal stuff home like months ago. We don't have like our environment around us at our desks and our cubes and the uncertainty and there are delays and nobody really knows. And like that goes on for a long time and it's nobody's fault, but it's still like, plus, like we're still managing in the building. We
Yep.
still have to like serve the patrons in the building. So it can be very difficult. Um, what I do know is my department currently manages 2 service points, and in the new building, we will have 4 service points. So I've been working on a draft schedule, and it will be very interesting to see how all of this works out. My team also managed a local history room, which will be much bigger and very nice in the new building. So we're currently working on more. We currently do more of an ad hoc or drop in when people need local history information, but we will be much busier in the new building.
Mm.
So the collections manager and I have been working on processes and procedures, like fill out this form, like triaging things more than, oh, you need this obit, let me do it right now. You need this other thing, well, that's going to take me a couple hours. Like just, we won't have time to do kind of on the spot, you
Mm.
know, research like that. So
Yeah.
we're working on new processes and procedures and getting ready to be in that new space.
Yeah. Yeah. It's getting that space, that transition period, getting the team ready for it is, yeah, both the processes.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I've actually moved into a few I mean, I've done this a
Ah,
couple times, so
yeah.
I keep trying to tell everyone, yes, it's terrible now,
Yeah.
but it won't be forever. And in
Yeah.
like X time, we will be in a shiny new building on the river with outside space.
Oh,
It's
wow.
going to be
Yeah.
great. I'm
Yeah.
glad I have a laptop because I plan on being outside. You know, in Northern Illinois, we have about, you know, 4 days in the summer where it's nice to be outside. I plan on being outside with my laptop working a lot, but it's really hard when you're in it because I've only been there, like I said, 6 months, and some
Yeah.
of these people have been here through the whole process,
Yeah.
and it's really hard
Yeah.
to be in a temporary location. But I just said, just hang on. You know, it affects all of us. It doesn't just affect staff, it
Yeah.
affects everyone.
Yeah.
And let's just, you know, keep in mind it's not what we're doing now is not forever. And they're like, you know, that kind of, you know, that does make sense that said come later in the summer, this all will be behind us. So
Oh,
they,
yeah.
they seem to be, you know, taking it in a little bit.
Good, good. Yeah. And they will. And this painful bit will just be a distant memory before you know it, won't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you've successfully leveraged librarian skills in various settings, from academic institutions to your consultancy. What core librarian skills do you think are most transferable to other industries?
Well, in library school, we learn a lot about the foundation of libraries and how libraries are structured, but we also learn how to learn.
Yes.
Especially the reference course. My reference course, we had to come up with a topic, and then we were given a list of 100 reference sources all over campus and all the libraries, and we had to learn how to use, because reference books, some of them the index is in the back, some of them the index is different. I mean, this was back in you know the
Yeah.
last millennium, where the and databases are different. Each
Yeah.
database can be different. So we had to learn, no one showed us. We had to learn how to use each reference source and then look up our topic and see what it said on our topic.
Mm.
So I think that's incredibly helpful because in library jobs, we don't get a lot of training. You're
Yeah.
like, here's on the desk, let me show you how to, check a book or look a book up in our ILS and then go to town on the desk. So it's very helpful to be able to learn how to learn.
Mm.
It's when you start a new job, you have to learn how does the ILS work, get a lot of training on that. Specific library technology, like your drives, everyone like the Z drive, the T, like they're all different. Every organization has a different setup. So it's good to be able to learn how to learn and then show someone else how to learn. Show someone else how to use this technology. I think flexibility, curiosity, and communication are the keys to working in many types of libraries. Those might not be technically like library. I use air quotes on my podcast, as you know, technically
Yes.
traditional library skills,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I think a lot of librarians don't have flexibility or curiosity or communication.
Yeah.
We know,
We know.
but I think we have to have those things to work in to move from any type of library
Yeah. Yeah.
because you just hit the ground running. You don't have a time period of training or anything. So we all serve patrons, we all do research, we all do cataloging, but we do them in different ways for different sets of customers. So keeping in mind the basics is important.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really, really useful and really useful, hopefully, to any non-librarians listening, because
Right.
for a librarian, they will hit the ground running. They will be all of those things. Yeah. Oh, well, they should be. But as you say, there are
Hmm.
who aren't, and they're the ones who get a bit stuck. And as we talked about
Hmm.
when you interviewed me for your podcast about being de-skilled.
Yes. I think about that every day. I've been quoting you every day ever since that. I'm going to say it again. If you're static, you're de-skilling. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. Oh.
and it's obvious when you come to a new library, you can tell
Oh.
they're not they're not into it.
Yeah.
You can come to a staff meeting and see the engagement or a management meeting, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh, ooh, okay, good. But that's good. It's fine. That's fine. You're
Yeah.
static, fine.
Yeah.
You stay over there.
Yes.
I'm over here doing stuff.
Yeah.
So that's all part of learning the culture of where you are. Everybody is not as excited as some of us are about the profession and our careers and our jobs, and that's okay.
That's okay.
We
Yeah.
just have to, but they have to be okay with it too.
And I think that's somewhere where it falls down,
Yes.
especially those people who have got static as soon as they've done their masters. So they've gone to library school, and that's that. And they're often the
You know, the one thing I absolutely cannot stand is when people say, I never learned that in library school. That's 12 classes. You think you're going to learn a whole career in 12 classes. My tech services professor used to say, the library school degree, that's your hors d'oeuvre.
Oh, I
Your
like
career is the main course.
that. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
But to your point though, if that's all you want to do is what you learn in library school,
Yeah.
I mean,
Stay in their lane. They'll stay over there. And
yeah.
but also I think what people who are non-librarians don't quite realise is the range of roles there are in life.
Yes.
And there's
Yes.
people who are customer facing. There's people who, if you're an academic library, are subject librarians. You've got your local studies librarians. You've got the people in the tech services who never see a person, and some of them
Hmm.
do want to see the people and some don't. The tech, everything. And I think that is probably something that if people understood better, they would be employing librarians left, right, and centre because, yeah, we get to
Well,
know.
and within libraries, you
Yeah.
can work in marketing.
Yes.
You can be a bookkeeper. Like you can you can be a systems librarian. So even within the ecosystem of libraries, we aren't all doing reference or cataloging.
No,
There's so many other things
yeah,
that we do within libraries
yeah.
that if you look at the structure of an organization, a library has an executive, a board, a budget, a staff, a computer system, inventory, if you're
Yeah.
looking at your books and material. I mean, we're like executives of libraries are really running small businesses or small
Absolutely.
nonprofits.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And because you're managing such a diverse array of staff,
Mm-hmm.
not all doing one task. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's something, yeah, that often within the wider organisations, be it a council or a
Mm-hmm.
university, I
Yes.
don't think they realise quite how complex libraries can be, especially when
Mm-hmm.
you have library services like I've run that have the archives in them, that might have galleries and all sorts of different.
Mm-hmm.
You've got so many amazing people working in
Mm-hmm.
libraries with air
Mm-hmm.
quotes. Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
yeah. And I know you talk about this on your podcast, the Librarian Linkover. I'm moving on to my next question. And what changes have you seen in how librarian skills are valued in non-traditional roles?
Well, the goal of my podcast was to get in front of hiring managers and HR people, and because I don't know how to do that.
No.
So, I mean, I would have had, different jobs faster if I had known how to get in front of those people
Uh,
to like, to get in front of those people to say, I'm a librarian, but I can be your project manager or I can do these other things. So, so in that respect, I don't have a lot of that in my audience, I don't think, but I know how to find librarians.
yeah.
So, what I have noticed from feedback I've gotten from listeners is their librarians are realizing the skills they do have can be used outside of libraries.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of us go into libraries like, oh, public libraries, we're going to help people find Shakespeare and all that. That is not what it is,
No.
which is fine. But I think people sometimes get stuck in like, this is not what I really want to do, but I don't know what else to do. So I've heard from many people who said, but my podcast has helped them find jobs outside of libraries. They've either realized they can use their skills in other industries, or the types of jobs my guests have helped listeners discover other opportunities to look for job openings, different
Oh,
industries or types of work. So I think it has helped librarians realize, wait a minute, we have all these skills that I can do this in another industry
mm,
and make more money, because really we all need to make more money.
yeah.
We can do this in another industry and make a lot more money. So I think that it really has helped a lot of people kind of, and I've heard from people like, you helped me focus my skills to get a different job in my library system because I
Yeah.
want to stay in libraries.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with libraries. My podcast is not anti-libraries at
Oh,
all.
no,
It's
no.
all about our skills.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And I totally agree. And hopefully people listening will realise that as well.
Yes. But
And
even like, you don't even have to listen to my podcast, but like scroll down the list and
yeah,
just look at all the titles and
they're
the
amazing.
organizations. President of a community college. I mean,
Yeah.
there's like all kinds of non-library official looking type jobs
Yes.
that we
Yeah.
can do outside of libraries with our same skills.
Yeah. Absolutely. And there's no reason you don't pop out there and then come back to libraries and
Right,
different
right.
routes, you know.
Well, and it's funny, like what I have learned because I was interviewed for something a couple months ago, and I'm like, well, I haven't really learned anything because I already know we have all these skills. But what I did realize is for like 20 something years, I've been going on about how our skills are transferable. Our library skills are transferable. But from doing this podcast like late last year, it hit me. We don't have library skills. We have skills we're using in libraries.
Love that. That's my
I
moment.
know.
Don't have all right, write that down. We don't have library skills. Oh, I love that. Yeah.
It just because it's like reverse engineering. Like if we
Yeah.
have library skills that are transferable, then of course those skills are transferable into libraries. Like I'm
Yeah.
thinking, oh my gosh, I've been saying this forever, and now I'm like, I've been kind of wrong this whole time. We don't have library skills.
Yeah.
If we can use them outside of libraries, then
Yeah.
someone else can come into libraries with those skills.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I know. I'm so glad I came up with this, and I'm like telling this everyone else. I've been wrong, kind of wrong. But
Mm,
we don't have library skills. Like the reference interview, although the reference interview is, I think, a classic library skill
Yeah.
because that is part of our education. And other industries, I don't think they have that as part of their education
No.
of being able to like really figure out what someone's asking is really a skill that we have that other fields don't really train for. But
Exactly.
in general, I mean,
Yeah.
other people are doing reference interviews. They just aren't calling it that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the listening skill you develop doing
Yes.
reference interviews is really something that other industries should develop and learn.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So, what advice would you give to librarians who aspire to leadership positions but might hesitate because they feel the lack of traditional business skills?
Well, I suggest getting involved in a professional association
Okay.
and learning traditional business skills in that way in a leadership role.
Yeah.
When you're in a leadership role in a local chapter or national or international organization, you get management skills, budget, delegating experience. You learn how to run a meeting, plan events, and all of those skills will take you a long way toward getting into a leadership role. Partly because you will find out if you like doing those things. Because if you aren't comfortable doing those things, then you probably should not be in a leadership role. Because there are many leaders who don't like doing those things, and that causes a lot of problems.
Yeah.
But that's what I did. I worked at Morningstar in Chicago as a solo,
Mm.
and I decided, I wanted to like manage people, and I didn't have any people or interns. So the Special Libraries Association Illinois, I'd been on a ton of volunteer things for them and on the board and stuff. And they asked me to serve as president-elect, and I really got so much leadership skill from that.
Yeah.
Really learned a lot that way.
Yeah. Yeah. That all I hadn't, because people ask me and I'm like, oh yeah, you could do project management to learn people skills, but of course, professional associations is a brilliant way of learning, yeah, how to do things.
And hopefully we're already in them.
Yes.
So we hopefully are already members of at least one or two. And who has enough volunteers? I mean, there's always a division or chapter or some committee
Yeah.
who needs more people.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's fantastic. Um, so with technology continually evolving, how do you see the role of library and information science professionals changing in the next decade?
Well, I think as far as like, and this is not really what you're asking, but part of like for public libraries and academic libraries to a point, technology depends on budget
Yeah.
because there's haves and have-nots.
Yeah.
So a lot of public libraries and academic libraries would love to jump on all of the new trends.
Yeah.
They don't have the money. They're not swapping out their computers every few years, updating their,
Mm.
whatever loanable technology things they have. Some libraries don't have hotspots. So it really, some of the trends and some of like someone asked about the future of libraries, and I said, that is not a question I can answer because every library can be different. So
Yeah.
there's haves and have-nots. So overall, there's nothing that really is for everything.
Yeah.
But as far as sort of what you're asking more along lines of what you're asking, I do think it's a good question, and I think there's been a lot of chatter on AI.
Mm.
Conference season's coming up, and there will be a lot of sessions about AI. This sounds like an old person tweet, an old stir get off my lawn tweet, but I'm really interested to see how libraries can use it because I really haven't seen any ways that AI can help in my job or in my library.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm big on technology. I'm
Yeah.
big on streamlining processes, use technology to the fullest.
Yeah.
Um, but I think we need to take a breath before we claim AI is going to be, revolutionary.
Mm.
It's still in the super early stages in general,
Yeah.
but I feel like, we're in the service industry.
Mm.
So I'm not really sure. I'm just not really sure what we would use it for. Like bots and stuff, I just don't know where that fits into libraries because
Yeah.
we have, self-service checkout and
Yeah.
things, but I'm not sure what we would use AI for.
No, no, I think it's really interesting. I think, yeah, you see some sectors have found ways of using it quite a lot, and then others
Hmm.
a lot less so. And it's quite, I think some of the things is, I guess, just being aware of it, like because your patrons will come in and ask about it, or, it's some of it is just being aware of this stuff, isn't it? That it's out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah. And of
Well,
course,
and of course, I would love to, you know, have a technology that will help us.
yeah,
But
yeah.
again, I'm just not sure what that would be at this point.
Yeah. One of the best examples I heard of someone saying how it helped them was they were in their 50s. They were very dyslexic. They'd always struggled to write emails, letters and things. And they found that they could put in their points and suddenly they made sense to people. And that is transformative for someone.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So if we can help our patrons with that sort of use of it, I think they fly with some of it. Yeah. But a lot of people are worried about it. And it's interesting to sort of see the conversations evolving and things. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think, again, this sounds like an old person comment, but I think sometimes these young white bros come up with these ideas and people think, oh, we have to get on this. And then other people are like, well, if they're doing it, we need to do it. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be doing it, but like, what problem is it solving? Like, what is it replacing, or what is it fixing, or what?
Yeah, what's it fixing?
So I'm not saying I'm opposed to it. I'm just saying, like, and how much time is it going to take to get it to the point where it will help us? Or like, again, we're serving people, we're in the service industry. So I'm not really sure at this point. I mean, I would love it if it did solve some problems, but I'm excited to find out what problems it will solve.
Yeah, I think that's really good point of view. So you've mentioned the influence of mentors in your career over time. How do you approach mentorship, and why do you think it's important for professional development?
Yeah. Well, when I was in library school, no one said anything about mentors. I found one on my own. I mentioned the person I talked to for my project from Disney. She kind of became my unofficial mentor, and she was really great. It's nice to have someone to have conversations with, and just have conversations about the what do you wear to conference, or do I go to conference, or just professional things, career path things. So it's important to have a resource for that. When I started my first job and got involved in SLA, I did find a few more mentors. It's important for me to have someone to, you don't know, you're new in the profession. I was a solo. I didn't work with librarians, so I needed people to that I had as resources to help me with my career. And when I started my podcast, I met with 3 of my mentors, and they helped me brainstorm my title, and they helped me narrow down what I wanted my content to be. So I told them, even though I had my degree for over 20 years at that point, they were not getting rid of me. So I feel like you can always learn from your mentors. And I've had several mentees over the years, because I'm always happy to help a student or new professional. Some have just wanted me to review their cover letter and resume, which is fine. But others want to have regular conversations. So it's interesting to me to see that students and newer librarians are super insightful and have a really good view of the library landscape. So it's interesting, like, why are you in library school? Because it's so different. I got my degree in 1999, so everything, super different now. But I have 2 ALA mentees right now, and one is in their first job and one is at school, and they're both really good. I mean, we're very lucky to have them in our profession. They ask great questions, and so it is nice when, sometimes you're like kind of having a long day, and then you talk to a mentee and you're like, oh, that's right. That's why I'm to remind you of why you love what you're doing. When I was in a corporate library, or even in specials or publics, I mean, like, anytime the student group wanted to come on over, I'll give you a tour. I've never turned a student down. Come on in.
Yeah.
Show you who doesn't want to show their space off, right?
Oh, totally.
And then show off to students, and then they get a lot out of it, because I never had any of that. So I'm, again, like, when you don't have something, or you have like a terrible manager, you don't want to be one. When you don't have, I never had a tour of a library or anything. Come on over, give all the tours I can give. So I try to recognize what I didn't get, and then try to give that back.
That's so how I feel as well. It's about giving back. And and like you, I've had some amazing people who've mentored me, sometimes unofficially, might not have called themselves that, and also home mentorship sometimes, that at times you're mentoring the person, at other times they're mentoring you. And those professional relationships are brilliant, aren't they?
They really are.
And then last question, how do you pay it forward in your professional community, and why is this important to you?
Well, I mentioned this a little bit before, but I talk about this on my podcast a lot, that I love professional associations. So whenever I'm introducing someone on my podcast, I always say, and they did this or that for their professional association, because I do think it's incredibly important to be we are in a profession. We don't just have jobs, we're in a profession and we have careers.
Yeah.
And professional associations, set parameters and set, guidelines and code of conduct and all that. So I think it's important to be part of professional associations. I love getting involved in professional associations. I love attending conferences in person. I love participating on committees. I always say I grew up in SLA since my first job was in a special library. I've had a lot of roles, including SLA Illinois chapter president, when we hosted the annual conference, because why not?
Yeah.
I was on the SLA nominating committee. This year, I'm on the Information Outlook editorial board, and I'm the chair of the Leadership Management and Development Chapter Conference Committee.
Wow.
Also, I'm speaking. I know. I'm speaking. They're like the mob, the SLA. They just pull you right back in. You can't get out.
Yes.
I'm also speaking at SLA for the first time at the conference this summer. I'm super excited.
Oh, wow.
I like to say SLA got like a lot out of me, but I got a lot more out of SLA. So speaking of mentors, I've also been a conference mentor, because you go to like a giant New York City or Chicago or LA conference center. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So I've also been a conference mentee. But so if anyone's listening and coming to SLA this summer, let me know.
Yeah.
We can connect.
Oh, brilliant. One of my goals is to come to one of the American conferences, because I've heard they are amazing, but also very different to the UK ones. Yeah.
Well, my goal is to come to a UK conference.
We'll have to work that out.
We will. We definitely will.
Live podcasting, couldn't we?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
How big would that be? Oh, yeah. So I will put links, obviously, to the Librarian Linkover and where people can find you and everything on there.
Thank you.
On the show notes. And thank you. Thank you for sharing your valuable experiences and perspectives on leading with kindness in the diverse world of librarianship. Your stories and strategies absolutely inspire anyone looking to impact their professional and personal lives positively. And to our listeners, we hope today's episode has encouraged you to embrace kindness as a leadership tool. And be sure to tune in next time for more conversations with leaders making a difference by leading with their hearts. Remember, in a world where you can be anything, choose to be kind. So until next time, keep leading with kindness. Thank you for joining us on Lead with Kindness. I hope today's episode has inspired you and equipped you with practical insights to bring more kindness and well-being into your leadership journey. Remember, the transformation towards a kinder workplace starts with us, and every small step counts. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share it with fellow leaders, and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us grow and reach more people committed to positive change. I'm Helen Rimmer, and it's been a pleasure to be part of your leadership journey today. Until next time, keep leading with kindness and fostering well-being in all that you do. Goodbye and take care.